part of this.
I'm just kidding. When should they come?
Around then. If the
Oh,
latest,
seriously?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they were. I was just kidding.
Oh, terrible.
If the latest, I'll let you know if it arrives later.
I got you.
That would be super fast. Or you could bring it over to the office.
Hello, thank you all for being here. Pursuant to New York State open meeting law, board member Amanda Grubler will be participating remotely from Mexico, where she has been stranded with her family. Her flight was canceled due to the snowstorm.
Poor Amanda.
Yes. And I'd like to remind all board members, including myself and any other speakers, to make sure we're speaking audibly into our microphones. With that said, I'd like to make a call the meeting to order and ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Leslie, roll call, please.
Mark DePace,
Here.
Kirsten Gustafson,
Here.
Diana Howard,
Here.
Matthew Mackerer,
Here.
Maureen Sheridan,
Here.
Mike Zabella,
Here.
Labona Prova,
Here.
and we're just waiting to get Amanda up on the screen.
Maybe she's in outer space.
She's not on yet.
She says she's in the meeting room.
Amanda Grubler,
All right. Yes, we can.
I was trying to. Very close.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor? We have our student representative report.
Since the last board meeting, a new semester has begun in the high school. A group of students are going to see Hamilton on Broadway tomorrow. Model UN is going to a competition in Beacon, New York, March 7th. The week before break, there was a Spirit Week hosted by the Student Council, and there was also Pi Senior, where you Pi a Senior. National Honor Society is beginning their applications, and currently in the high school, there is a 10-10 rule, where before 10 minutes into class, you cannot leave, and 10 minutes before the end of class, you also cannot leave. So within that time period, students can go to the bathroom or do other things or go to their study hall. The Environmental Club is also hosting a Dutch Mill Flower Bowl fundraiser. If you want some, you should come see me. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we have our board reports. We'll start with Audit Committee.
Audit committee has not met since the last meeting.
Facilities.
Facilities Committee met just prior to this meeting. Got some updates on the pool. We are currently operating at half capacity for lifeguards, and we are in process, or Tyler is in process of hiring more. Not Tyler, excuse me, Matt. Tyler recommends reviewing policy 1500 to the policy committee. I'm looking at you, Amanda, although you can't see me very clearly, to look at, that covers rentals. The cooler and freezer upgrades to MCS, along with the greenhouse, proposal has been submitted to SED, and we're now in the process of waiting for their approval, so we can advance the rest of those projects. Let's see, light poles at MC Smith were repaired over break. Lights by the bus loop and the back parking lot have all been updated to LED. It is nice and bright there. Let's see, I think that is all the exciting news that I have to report this time around.
Great. Thank you very much. Policy. Amanda, are you able to do this, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I mean, if you can hear me, I can.
We can hear you.
Yeah?
Bring your microphone
Can you
over.
hear me well enough?
We can.
All right.
They're not gonna be able to.
We got a whole bunch of stuff done. We edited the relationship with booster organizations one more time to make it really.
Coming out of the laptop.
There were some edits from the attorney around language and changing it to a local form, and then we also had a longer conversation just about
Oh.
like what.
Hold on one second, Amanda.
People-
One
Can
second.
you hear me?
Yeah, we're trying to
We're trying to make it
troubleshoot.
so other folks can hear you too. We can hear, but we can't figure
yeah.
out where your sound's coming from to amplify you.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, that's
I'm gonna
better.
echo for myself, but maybe it'll work. Yes, folks can hear me?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
We can, yeah.
Maybe not.
Sorry, I muted. It was super loud. Give it a try now.
Okay, how about now?
Perfect.
Okay, great. All right, we edited policy 1222, which is the relationship with booster organizations, one final time. We had it listed as a required policy, but it was a local policy, so we fixed that edit. And then we also had a lengthier discussion around clarifying what needs approval and how to use district communications. So that should be really helpful, I think, in both maintaining the autonomy of booster organizations, but also helping streamline the process for getting the word out about events through our district communications, so that we can continue with those fundraising efforts in general. We updated policy 5405, which is student wellness, with some updates from the attorney around adding some of the PE requirements in, which is great. Those are all things that we already do. And then a tweak from what we looked at in the first week last time, which is that we are not defining smart snack requirements, because those, as those requirements are revised, we don't want to have to revise the policy every time. So we like name the regulation we have to follow, but don't define it specifically, if that makes sense. And then we really cranked through all of the zero policies, so that had suggested edits from our partnership with NISBA around this work. So we began the process of revising the diversity, equity, and inclusivity in education process to make sure that it follows current language around staffing and that had named the DEI manager, so we needed to change that to sort of the current reporting process and the current central office staffing. Also worked at updating to our sexual harassment policies, which is an ISBA required update, our HIV and AIDS policy, which is an ISBA required update, and made some tweaks to the evaluation of superintendent. Those are all sort of like in the final stages to then get up for review. And then we divvied up a bunch of work on some policies that we'll update on soon.
Thank you very much. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee met and reviewed the presentation that's happening tonight. Had an opportunity to ask questions and understand a little more about what's going on, which will again happen tonight. And I think it's important to look clearly at tonight's presentation for revenue numbers, the classroom sizes, and a couple of the particular budgets that we're going to talk about, and just get an understanding as we start putting the budget together over the next couple of months.
Thank you. Board President's report. Petitions are available for those interested in running for the school board. There are 2 seats up for re-election. They're available with our board clerk, Leslie Coons, and they are due April 29th at 5 p.m. Tonight we'll begin the process of mid-year board assessment and superintendent evaluation. I will distribute a meeting observation sheet to all the board members to use for our mid-year self-assessment, and we'll take our time filling those out over the course of the next few meetings, and compare and contrast our notes. And that will all lead up to our year-end board self-assessment, where we look at our goals and our objectives and see how we did. Our board activity calendar is still a work in progress, so we're not going to touch on that tonight. Hopefully we can get a sense of what our meeting cadence will be and what types of presentations will be shared throughout the course of the rest of the year in the next coming weeks. And I'd like to say congrats to our boys basketball team for achieving #1 seed in the Section 2 Class A playoff brackets. Best of luck to them and to Coach Briscoe. Brings us to recognitions and presentations. We're going to have our capital project and EPC team go first.
Good evening. I'm John Sharkey with Weston & Sampson, formerly Rhinebeck Architecture, but same company. So I'm going to give a quick presentation on the status of the capital projects, talk about the scope and schedule, and where we're at with it. So hopefully I get this. Here we go. The first slide is the original layout of the budgets and the scope that was went out to the voters. So all those items are still in there. I'll talk a little bit about some of the larger items, replacing tennis courts, deteriorated sidewalks. We have a bunch of interior, exterior doors are being replaced, new boilers, some emergency lights, building generator for the building. We're also renovating 6 toilet rooms and replacing some 2 fuel tanks, one at the MC Smith School and one at the high school that we're going to take care of and upgrade, and then the salt shed that we'll talk about. So the total at the MC Smith School is a little over $3 million for the scope of work there. The sidewalk replacements in the front of the building there, if you see the part in the yellow there, that's the loop actually around the back area. If you see the photos on the right-hand side, that's where some of the pavement is deteriorated. So rather than going back with pavers again, we're going to do concrete sidewalks, so we don't have that issue in the future with curbing. We'll reset the existing pavers farther in, and then obviously have handicap accessible curb cuts. The toilet room renovations inside the building are those areas in yellow as well. We're doing the gang bathrooms on the first and second floors of the 1997 wing, upgrading those areas, new tile, new finishes. The MC Smith generator, we looked at, the original scope was to do a generator to run some of the utilities in the building, like the kitchen equipment, some emergency services, the elevators and things like that. But as we got into the design and the original building, the electrical panels, the way everything was set up, it's actually more cost efficient to do a generator that can run the whole building. So we're proceeding down that way. Believe it or not, it would cost more money to do a smaller generator because you'd have to put new panels in, rewire some of the circuits, and do a lot of interior work. So doing a whole building generator was much more cost effective. So that's what we're looking to do. Excuse me. Tennis courts, the scope was to renovate the tennis courts. I have a couple of photos there to show the condition of some of the areas. We're going to take care of the concrete work there that's in the upper right-hand corner where we have some spalling there. The intent is to take out the existing courts down about 12 inches. We're going to take all the asphalt out of there, the sub base, come back with new sub base, and then new asphalt. Correct the pitching, the incorrect pitching on the courts there. If you look, some of the graphics there, those little squiggly lines are kind of like low areas there's a little bit of ponding, so the intent is to get rid of all that. We're going to push everything off to the sides as far as drainage. There's, along the top edge where that retaining wall is, there's actually a little sand layer there that I think was originally designed to capture some of that water, but over the years it filled up, so we're going to put a slot drain against the wall so that we can capture all that water and take it off into the storm system. And then as we were doing, the original scope did not include new lighting, but when Tyler and I were out there walking around and we took a look at the light poles and everything, there are 2 light poles that are kind of tilting significantly, so we think it's, we're going to put it in there as an alternate to replace that lighting. And if you look at that fixture on the lower right, that's kind of what most tennis courts are going with now. It's like a low-level light, so it's not like lighting up the neighborhood. It's just going to be directed down to the court. So we're going to look at that and get a little more detail on that as we go along. We're also looking at replacing the chain link fencing around the right-hand corner along Paddock Place and then along the track there. We're not going to impact the old wrought iron fencing. That kind of stops when it gets to the tennis courts. So we're not affecting that, but we're just looking to replace the chain link sections, which are much newer than the older wrought iron. And then we were asked to take a look at pickleball layouts. So the blue area there is a couple of different options that we've done, some in different school districts. The one on the far right is putting a pickleball overlay on one court, and in the other areas where you can do 2 pickleball stations on one court. So we can get into that a little bit more at the next presentation, but those are options. We may put both in the project as alternates too, and then we can decide which layout you want to have. But they work really well as an overlay for the tennis courts. A couple of details just to show we're going to be replacing all the poles and netting, so it's going to look like a new facility. I don't know if you know the extent of along Paddock Place, not where the big retaining wall is, but where the other wall is. All the asphalt is kind of breaking off, and the poles are kind of raising above the asphalt. So we're going to put a small concrete wall along there at grade level so that the new asphalt goes right up to that wall, and then it's a nice solid surface so we don't have any spalling in the future. Excuse me, moving over to the high school, again, a lot of the same things, doing some sidewalk repairs, replacing exterior doors. We're going to be putting some safety film on some of the corridors, replacing acoustic panels in the gymnasium, old carpeting, folding partitions, and then we're also doing a new storage building and a salt shed, which I'll get into in the next couple of slides. But the total in that building is around almost $3 million for that scope of work. So again, yellow area, the front, this is pretty much right outside the business office. All the other areas seem like really good shape. These are spalling a little bit more, so we're going to replace that yellow area. And then the salt shed and new storage building, this is an overall site plan to kind of show you that the new storage building is going to go where there's like an old modular right now at the end of the feature field, so we're going to take that modular out it's old, and I don't think it's even used anymore other than, you know, storing a couple of things in there. So we're gonna get rid of that building, build a new storage building there. And then on the far side, on the other entrance to the site, where there's another storage shed there, we're gonna get rid of that storage shed as well, because that's old, and put the salt shed on that end of the site. Just a plan and elevation roughly of what the storage building will look like. Salt shed, the photo down in the lower right-hand corner is the old storage building that's there. That's pretty bad shape, so that's why we want to get rid of that. The photo just to the left of that is kind of a rough idea of what the new storage, salt storage shed building will look like. 2 bays. Excuse me. Toilet room renovations, again, in the yellow, we're doing the gang bathrooms in the old part of the building, first and second floor. And then we're gonna be converting the smaller bathrooms over by the pool. One of them is almost handicap accessible, the other one isn't. So when we're done, we're gonna expand the doorways, and both of those bathrooms will be totally handicap accessible. Auditorium seating. So we're planning on replacing the auditorium seating here. I think there's a chair somewhere, if it's still here somewhere, so we've dropped off a sample. Obviously, everybody that's coming here knows the chairs are squeaking like crazy, so we're gonna be replacing those, not in that pattern. That's just an example of a chair that could be purchased. We'll also be putting in handicap stations, which was required by code when we redo the seating. Redo the carpeting, and then we're going to add aisle strip lighting like we have in that center photo up there at the top. Corridor wall infills. There's a lot of classrooms that have big windows, classrooms, library, and a couple other spaces that are open to the corridor. So we're going to put ballistic film on the inside of those glass partitions to make them more secure. We're doing that in a lot of school districts, any place where there's a big area that someone could try to get access into the space, so all those areas will be taken care of. The pool. So we started out wanting to do a renovation of the pool, redo the gutters, redo the lighting, and you know, really upgrade the pool. As we got into it, our company has a division that does aquatics, and the price for doing that is actually about $1.5 million to go in, because once you do more than routine maintenance or repairs, then by code you have to bring everything up to code standards, and unfortunately those old green gutters around there are not up to current standards. So I think after presentations with the facilities committee, we decided that we were going to go in and regrout all the tile, because that's the biggest issue there right now, is regrout all the tile, replace all the cracked tile, and then paint the ceilings and add new floor drains in there. And that's going to get the place looking good, and painting the ceiling, and you know, get an upgrade in there, and then that gives the district plenty more time, a few more years to look at it and see what you really want to do there. The proposed schedule was the projects were always supposed to be done over 2 summers. So phase 1, we were looking to do a lot of the exterior work, trying to get, you know, the roofs done, the shingle roofs, obviously the buildings like the storage building and the salt shed, that could be done over the summer, and it could even go into the school year because they're separated, they're away from the school. We can fence off around for the safety of the students. We'd like to get the auditorium seating done, and the gymnasium wall pads, and then come back in the summer of 2027 to do the toilet room renovations, because there's a long lead time for some of that equipment, and we want to give the contractors time to get that on schedule. Just go back to that. So currently, we are waiting on the asbestos consultant to get their drawings done, because we can't get up to the state education department without their information. I was told that we'll probably have that by the end of next week. So once we get that, we're going to go up to SED for approval, and luckily SED is still at 3 to 4 weeks review time, so it still gets out in plenty of time for the start of the summer schedule for this year. And then obviously we've had some conversations with some contractors, and they're anxious to take a look at it, because it does have work for next summer, and that's always enticing to them. And just a quick summary on, I think we mentioned the greenhouse and the refrigerator cooler. Those projects are both up at SED. I would expect them to come out sometime within the next week or two with approvals on those. We got them up there probably about 2.5 weeks ago, so we're pretty much on track to get those out before the end of the month or first week of March. And I think that's it. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, thank you. Mike, start with you or Labona, you guys?
Okay. On the tennis courts,
Yes.
I saw on can you go back to that drawing?
Yep.
Or to the. Okay, so go back to the one with the pickleball court.
Yep.
Sorry. So the bleachers are to the far right, correct?
In this photograph, no, it's to the left.
On the left, yeah.
Yeah, that long rectangular area there to the left, that's the bleacher section.
Oh, okay.
Paddock places up on top. Yep.
Would it be beneficial to move the court down towards the bleacher side? Because what I was thinking was, if we ever went into a competition style thing with the other schools, for the spectators to sit and watch.
You mean the pickleball courts,
Or
right?
pickleball court, yes.
Oh, pickleball. Oh, the intent was to have pickleball courts on all the courts as an alternate to get pricing. You could do it on all of them or some
Okay,
of
so we
them.
had talked about 3 courts.
3 court,
Well,
okay.
well, is the blue the pickleball court?
Yes.
I think-
Yeah, they could be wherever you want them, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I just showed that as a graphic just to show you what kind of layouts there are, but yeah, we can put them towards
Okay.
the bleachers.
Because the problem
Absolutely.
with what would be on court 2, where the dual are, you'd have another set of net posts.
Yeah, you'd have to have portable nets for that,
So
yes.
wouldn't it be more beneficial to have one on each court?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
if that's, yeah, I wasn't sure how many you wanted, I just wanted to give you different
Okay.
options, but yeah, absolutely, we'll move them back towards the
Okay.
bleachers.
And for the salt shed?
Yep.
Is there going to be a loading ramp associated with that, or is it just?
It's gonna be grade level.
It's going to be grade level?
Yeah.
Okay. And is it a prefab building, or is it going to be stick built?
No, it's gonna be constructed.
It's going to be constructed
Yeah,
there? Okay.
yeah, we wanted to do concrete sidewalls, so for durability, and then we have plywood, pressure-treated plywood on the inside. The prefab buildings that they make aren't that great,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question. Back to the tennis courts, you were talking about replacing some lighting. Was there any conversation about solar-powered lights?
No, for the kind of illumination you need on a court like that, it's very difficult to get solar lights. I can talk to our electrical consultant and see, but, I mean, they take a lot of power to get those kind of lights on a tennis court, but we could look into it. There may be some options for something, but I'll find out.
I have 2 questions. One is about the lighting on the tennis court. Those appear to be the lights that are aimed down, which I assume has the improved environmental impact by creating less light
Yes.
bleed up into the sky?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they're night sky fixtures, so, the ones you have now are the acorn style, so they basically light up the whole neighborhood when they
Okay.
come on.
And
Yeah.
then my second question is, and pardon my ignorance, I know that the seeker process has been engaged for this, and there's a public comment period that's part of that. Does this meeting go towards that public comment period, or how is that being handled
Well,
in this
the
case?
seeker's already completed.
It
It's
is,
been a
okay.
type 2 action, so that's completed. I didn't get back to that. So there was a question about whether this is historic, site and things like that. So every project that goes through SED has to be submitted to the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, which this project has been submitted. We haven't gotten comments back from them yet, but I can share with you some letters if you can just pass it around. But every project we do gets submitted, and then they send a letter back that basically says there's a declaration of no impact. We've done 5 projects on this school site, and every one of them has come back with no impact, so I expect it's going to be the same. The building is eligible to be on a historic register if the district wanted to, but currently it's not. It's recommended to be on a historic register, but it's not currently on New York State Register of National Historic Places. So once I get that letter back, obviously we'll forward it to the district.
Go ahead, Labona.
Oh, just a question on being on the historic site. Is there any benefits to being named one, or you're just named a historic site?
Well, it's a catch-22. If you label it a historic site, then every time you want to paint the window or change a door, then it's got to go through a much more rigorous process. I mean, it's great to have it on there if it's a historic building, and it is a beautiful building, but it does come with regulations that, you know, make it real tough to do any kind of modifications in the future. Any others?
Kirsten, are you good?
Yep, thank you.
Since we started down this path, is there any indication we're going to exceed the financial scope that we originally determined?
I would love to say, yeah, absolutely not, but until we open bids. We do have alternates in the project as a stopgap, but as far as the latest estimates we got, I think we're still on track. Yeah. Yeah, I expect we'll be at bid or under, and then we have the alternates so we can decide whether they're in and out of the project. Yep.
Back to the historic designation, aren't there tax credits and stuff that also come with that? Is that
For school districts, I haven't seen any yet. You know, usually for private projects there are, because it's a private thing, but school districts get their funding from a different source. And a lot of times SAD won't let you combine those. So if you do get a grant from a historic organization, then SED is going to give you less funding on your project. So it's kind of like a catch-22, but I could research that a little bit more.
And for the tennis courts as well, we're not touching the bleachers. Those are going to stay as they are.
Not touching bleachers. We have in there to paint the walls and things around them, but we're not going to touch the bleachers.
Gotcha. And for the lights, I know there's been some confusion on how people turn them on, or if the public can turn them on. How would they work? Would it be on a timer?
I think right now they turn on at that building, right? That's
So currently, right now on our press box, you can turn them on for an hour.
Okay.
As it gets dark, you press a button, it's down for an hour. If you're still playing, you can hit the button again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And then I do know that there's a passionate tennis community. Is there anything that we've done or can do to get input from them on?
Yeah, we'd be happy to. We have the drawings. We'd be happy to meet with anybody that wants to talk. We'll come down and sit down with them, go through the details. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Go down where?
No,
Where would they go?
Oh, they come meet us. We'll come to the district, wherever. Or
And
if they
how would
want to
they-
come
how
to
would
our
they
office, that's
contact
fine
you?
too.
Well, I think we would set up a night for public engagement and
Yeah.
say, put it out on all the normal district channels and say, hey, we're going to meet for anybody who wants updates on the capital project or the tennis courts specifically, and just set a night and meet here or in the cafeteria, wherever we choose.
Mhm. That'd be fine.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have the EPC team.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you again. I'm John Sanborn from Johnson Controls. Oh, sorry, it's a little better. Good evening, nice to see you all again. I'm John Sanborn of Johnson Controls, here to talk about the energy performance contract and provide an update there. So I think the last time I was here was early fall, and so since then we have some good updates to share, so I'll get right into it. There we go. So some of these slides you folks have seen before, but I thought it would be useful just to provide a refresher about the project. So the project has 15 different energy conservation measures included in it. It's just under an 18-year payback for that's a SED requirement, and so that's the project cost divided by the savings without aid. Must meet that 18-year payback. The project will generate a positive cash flow of over $3.8 million, and that's over the term with aid, over the 18-year term. The project cost is just under $8 million, so nothing has changed there with any of these numbers that you've seen before. And it will produce a district annual savings of just over $430,000 annually. So that number is made up of energy savings, O&M savings, and then the solar PPA buyout savings as well. The project will receive SED building aid, and your project was voter approved, so for EPCs you get an extra 10% aid there if it were not, as opposed to if it were not voter approved. There's also one-time rebates that are made up of NYSERDA FlexTech funding rebates, as well as on the energy efficiency measures themselves through National Grid, your utility provider. So here's just a list of the scopes of work. There's 15 ECMs, or energy conservation measures, across both buildings, and they range from everything from your lighting system upgrades to building envelope improvements to temperature control system upgrades, and as well as major improvements to your HVAC systems, the main one being the boiler replacement here in this building, which I'll get into. And then toward the bottom, there's a solar PPA buyout, which is the district, by doing that, is essentially help funding the other more capital intensive measures. And so I mentioned the solar PPA buyout. I'll just go through that again. And so this is an asset out back here that's been installed for just about 9 years now. And the top line of that of this chart here shows the value of that system during the first year was around almost $4.5 million, the value of that system. And there's a heavily discounted clause in your contract if you were to buy that out. And here in year 9, what we've included in the EPC is a buyout price of $1.1 million. So an extremely discounted opportunity for the district to convert the system to ownership, and therefore the roughly $140,000 a year lease payment will go away, and you'll be able to receive 100% of the renewable energy credits. Well, you receive 100% of the credits right now, but you have the lease payment to go along with it. So the lease payment won't be required going forward after that purchase is made. So again, by doing that as part of the project, is going to help fund the more capital-intensive items, like here the boiler replacement here at the high school, which is original to the building. This boiler plant, it's a steam system that has many inefficiencies and antiquated parts with that system. And so as part of the energy performance contract, we're going to fully do a full boiler replacement with the elimination of steam and install new high-efficiency hot water condensing boilers. It's a significant upgrade to the heating plant for this building. And then again, from the list on a prior slide, there are a host of other energy efficiency measures included in the project. Another 13 here that represent another $1.7 million in cost, or over $187,000 in annual savings, which are help driving, again, some of the larger items. So project timeline, we are on the 4th line. So we've just submitted to SED just about 2 weeks ago on February 11th. So we executed the agreement back in the fall, and since then we've done the detailed engineering design with Energia, the district's owner's rep engineering firm. And we worked with them to, after contract, to do the detailed designs on mechanical, the MEP designs, and the EPC and general design to get it up to SED. And I'm happy to report that, again, about 2 weeks ago it was submitted. Thank you to the district, Dr. Bailey and Christy and Tyler for helping us get all that paperwork completed and up to SED. And so right now, for next steps, as John Sharkey mentioned, there's about a 2 to 3 week queue at SED. And so we checked this afternoon, and your project is still awaiting review. So we're just waiting for them for SED to pick the project up and begin reviewing it. But through March, we expect the review to occur, and hopefully we get, we expect permits in April. Once we have permits in hand, then we can work with the district and your fiscal advisor to go to financing. But again, thanks to the district, we've been holding monthly meetings with Bernie Donegan's office to prepare and keep everybody on the same page with financing. But that will line up shortly after we get SED permits, and then we will, JCI will mobilize, because a major effort this summer is to mobilize and procure all the major equipment for the boiler room so that we can get it done this summer in time for fall, in time for heating season for next season. So that's our major goal for this summer. And then another item for this summer is, once we have permits and financing in place, we can work with the district and your attorney to begin the solar PPA buyout negotiation. And the sooner we can get that done, the sooner the savings will start to be realized for the district. So that's all I had. Are there any questions?
Do we pay for maintenance on the solar panels?
Right now you don't, because you're leasing the system. Once you own the system, then you will be responsible for maintenance.
Do you know like a rough estimate of how much that costs?
It's your system. The maintenance is mainly going to be to mow, which will be something that the district will have to take on. And then another maintenance component for systems of this side are the inverters that convert the electricity into, send it off to the grid. But we recognize that in the development process that the existing inverters are going to be about 10 years old, and so we've included the cost to replace all those. So as part of the project, there'll be brand new inverters with new warranty and some minimal to no maintenance on those to start.
Okay, I have a few things. With the solar buyout, solar panel is not really effective after 80% of its life, correct?
So the
For our needs.
panels themselves are warranted for 25 years,
Okay.
they may be about 80% efficient at the end of their life, but they'll still be producing electricity.
Okay. So when we buy them, are we still responsible for removal and disposal of them at the end?
Well, you will own the panels, so yes, at the end of its useful life, what we see is more of a repowering effort. So
What do you mean by repowering?
meaning the infrastructure is in place and you're connected to the utility grid, and so at the end of its useful life, a company like Johnson Controls could come back and put the new latest and greatest panel in at a much less cost because your infrastructure is already there. So we could recycle the old panels at that time.
Okay.
And just continue generating revenue for the district.
So we're talking probably 8 to 10 years before that has to be done?
Well, they're about 10 years, so another 15.
Okay. I noticed on your boiler replacements, you were just talking about the high school. We're also doing it at MC Smith too, correct?
That's in the capital project, not in the EPC.
Okay. And you are switching them over to a full water system?
At the high school, yes.
At the high school,
So,
correct.
yes, yep. They're,
Okay.
it's currently a steam system, but that steam is isolated just in the boiler room
It's
itself.
steam over hot water, correct?
Correct. It converts
Okay.
it to hot water, and then it sends hot water out to the rest of the building.
Okay.
But we are demolishing all the steam infrastructure within the boiler room, and making it high efficiency hot water.
Okay. Basically, we're about 6 months away 5 to 6 months away from that project. So what is the lead time on those boilers? Because they want to have this done during the summer?
Correct.
Okay.
So we're planning to mobilize for this boiler equipment in April, May. And we feel confident that by doing that then, we'll be able to get the boiler work done this
All
summer.
right. Is there a time frame of how long it should take from start to finish of just the boiler install and up to operation?
It's going to take all summer,
Okay.
or most of the summer. And the rest of the project, JCI will be engaged, obviously, with the other measures to, as the heating system transition into the heating season, we'll be right there to make sure that we're monitoring it and doing what we need to ensure proper heating in the building.
Okay. Thank you.
Diana, you good?
She got my question.
Amanda? She's on the computer.
Amanda, can you hear us?
Okay, she's good. She texted me.
Sorry, yes, I can hear you. I just had to hit the button correctly. I'm good on questions. Thank you.
Great. Kirsten?
None.
No? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right, next, we have budget presentation number 2.
Good evening. So in tonight's presentation, we really are beginning our work on the 26-27 budget with a focus on the key elements that shape both our educational program and our long-term financial stability. We will look closely at the tax levy and how it supports district operations, the status and strategic use of our reserves, and the role of grants in sustaining programs. We'll also review the class size, facility needs, and instructional technology and district technology areas that directly impact student experience and the quality of our learning environment. Each of these components help ensure that our planning is responsible, student-centered, and aligned to the needs of the Hudson community. The Hudson City School District budget philosophy is grounded in a clear purpose: to allocate resources in a way that promotes educational excellence, expands opportunity, and supports the well-being of our students, staff, and community. We are committed to a budget philosophy built on these 3 pillars. Stabilize reflects our dedication to providing consistent resources that create dependable and supportive learning environments. Strengthen represents our focus on operational improvement that elevates the quality of instruction, enhances efficiency, and ensures district programs function at their best. And sustain reflects our long-term vision through multi-year planning that protects fiscal health, maintains high-quality programs, and ensures strong opportunities remain in place for future students. So this chart represents our tax levy history, and it shows how Hudson has consistently taken a conservative approach to the tax levy. So in 3 of the 4 years shown, the district approved a levy increase below the maximum allowed under the state tax cap, meaning Hudson did not collect all the revenues it was permitted to raise. This kept the tax impact lower for the community, but also meant the district operated with less revenue growth available. So in 2025, with rising costs and reduced one-time revenues, required the district to levy at the cap for the first time within this period. For the projected 27 26-27 cap, and this bar represents just a significant allowable growth driven by formula factors and exclusion amounts, signaling the importance of thoughtful planning as the district balances educational needs, community impact, and long-term fiscal sustainable systems. So the prior year tax levy, this is part of a part one of the tax cap formula. So we're gonna start with the prior year tax levy. And this determines the estimated levy limit, this formula, which is the base in which the state allows us to grow from. So we're beginning with the prior year tax levy of 26.36 million and apply that to the tax-based growth factor, which accounts for physical growth within the community and which increases the levy slightly. Then we add the prior year's payment in lieu of taxes, $200,000, which the state requires us to include before subtracting the exclusions for capital for prior year, such as debt service that cannot be taxed twice. This produces an adjusted prior year levy of $26.93 million, which is then multiplied by the allowable levy growth factor of 2%. This inflation-based component of the formula, which is where you get the 2%. And finally, we subtract the upcoming year's pilots, which must be removed because they are not collected through property taxes. After all of these steps, Hudson's base tax cap formula results in $906,481 of allowable levy growth, or 3.44%. This is only the first stage of the calculation, and then the formula then continues by adding back certain coming year exemptions. For 26-27, Hudson's capital-related exemptions total $1,024,878, with no additional exemptions for court orders, ERS, or TRS. When these are added to the Part 1 levy limit, the district's maximum allowable levy increase becomes $1,931,359, or 7.33%, resulting in a maximum levy of $28,293,404. So Part 1 builds the adjusted levy base, and the second part of the formula layers in approved exemptions, ultimately producing the district's final tax cap for the year. The district's reserve balances have declined over the past 3 years as we've used these funds to help balance previous budgets. Reserves are legally authorized savings accounts that school districts maintain for specific purposes, such as retirement costs, unemployment, repairs, workers' compensation. Their purpose is to provide financial stability, protect taxpayers from sudden spikes in costs, and ensure the district can respond to unexpected expenses without disrupting programs. In 2023, the district held over $7 million in reserves. By 2024, the total dropped to $6 million, around $6 million, and in 2025, the district will have approximately $4.7 million remaining. The largest reductions occurred in the Employment Retirement Contribution Reserve and the Workers' Compensation Reserve, which were used to stabilize the tax levy and offset increases. These one-time funds provide a temporary relief, and the tax reduction reserve had not been utilized in over 10 years, so the funds were moved accordingly to policy to unassigned fund balance. Hudson's fund balance is made up of assigned amounts, restricted reserves, and the unassigned portion, the district's true emergency savings. The unassigned balance is $6.1 million, projected for the year 2025. So New York limits how much that balance can remain unassigned to no more than 4% of the next year's budget. That cap is about $2.34 million. Any amount above that threshold must be used in allowable ways, such as supporting the budget or funding reserves. This emphasizes the need to carefully manage fund balance to stay compliant while ensuring the district has sufficient protection against unexpected costs. So in addition to state aid and property taxes, the district receives revenue from several smaller but important sources, including utility taxes, interest earnings, rental income, pilots, and miscellaneous revenue. These revenues can fluctuate significantly from year to year based on economic conditions, interest rate changes, and reimbursement schedules. So because these sources are less predictable than our primary revenues, we budget them conservatively to avoid overstating revenue and creating shortfalls. When these revenues come in higher than expected, that will help strengthen the year-end fund balance. And when they come in lower, the conservative budget approach protects the district from financial risk. So for 26-27, we projected approximately $1.7 million in other revenues, which represents a decline of about $505,000 from the prior year's budget. This is a conservative decline. And then the decrease is driven largely by the loss of a one-time regional cost group settlement, along with more conservative budgeting in areas such as tuition and interest income. Because many of these sources are unpredictable and often influenced by external factors, the district continues to budget them cautiously to avoid overstating revenue and creating mid-year financial risk. So this is our summary, which projects really the range of available revenue. We have an allowable tax levy, a starting number of 27 million, roughly the 3.44%, to the allowable tax cap of 28,293,000, which is at 7.33%. And with our state aid at 27 million, we also have an unassigned fund balance available anywhere from $0 up to above what we have in terms of the 4%. And that gives us the $3,772,940. Other revenue, which brings us to a total possible projection for revenue between $56 million to $60 million. So the goal really is to sustain strong programs and remain fiscally responsible. And we have some room here for decision-making. And in the end, what we really want to look at is the way in which to balance our budget, what means to have increased revenue or reduce expenses. And our next meeting, I'll talk more about our expenses line.
So probably the first important observation is we're not proposing that the board go out at 7.33%. This very in-detailed explanation is probably the first time that I've heard the 2% tax levy explained in any way that didn't sound like Greek. So I'm appreciative of how carefully she helped to describe that to us. It is important because we, of course, have all heard the words 2% tax levy, and that's a misnomer. There was one line in that whole calculation that represented the 2%. I was trying to go back to the reserve slide. Something that you might notice that's very conspicuous there is capital reserve is missing. Capital reserve is a reserve that's voted on by the voters that creates a bank account with no money in it. It's just permission to move money into a capital reserve, and capital reserves are what you ordinarily use when you're doing construction projects. In talking with our bond counsel, we're estimating that the next large debt for the district is not rolling off until the late 2030s. So you're talking 12 to 13 years before the next debt is rolling off. It's like, imagine you own a car, you have a car payment, and you're like, I have to make a car payment for 5 years. I don't want to buy another car until I get to that 5-year mark. So when debt payment rolls off from former projects, that's an opportunity for us to keep the tax levy stable and do important infrastructure updates, like the things that both of our folks were talking about this evening. A capital reserve is the buffer in between. By moving money into a reserve, it allows you to operationalize the aid money that we get from the state. I think we're about 70% or so. So if we spend $100, we get 70% of that back. We get excused for that 70%. The state is helping to pay 70% of it. So if you had a reserve of $1 million, you'd be able to, if you had a reserve of $300,000, you could operationalize a $1 million budget. The state would help subsidize the remainder. So you see, it's pretty easy to leverage money from our unassigned fund balance into reserves like that and be able to do something in the next 12 to 13 years. I mean, we're all rational. We recognize we have something like 350,000 square feet in our buildings. There's a lot of things that will need continuous maintenance. So we'll be talking more about reserves. And the other one we were talking about was tax certiorari, which is a reserve that is in place for when people contest their tax, tax assessment, and the district has to reimburse. That's a normal one too, but we will talk more about those. But I'm very appreciative of that thorough explanation of those. And I had one more thing I wanted to buzz by, but can't remember what that is right now. So my apologies, because the very last thing after we created this presentation is we converted it to a different platform. And this is what my slide looked like after I did that. So I apologize. There is no left and right column. It's more like clipped. So I'll speak through it, and ideally you'll understand where I'm going. So right now, we currently have 18 grants that are generating money for the district, totaling about $3.2 million. That is on top of our $58.5 million budget. Those that are generating revenue moving forward, we expect to be about 16. And the entitlements or enrollment for performance-based grants, meaning that we have to apply every year, or every few years, excuse me. And right now we have 11 total instructional, non-instructional grants being funded that way. So sum total, 29 full-time employees in that $3.2 million. There are other things that are paid for. We're probably paying bills for resources that we have or for partnerships with certain organizations. But there are 29 full-time employees in there. We expect that one of these grants, large one, will be sunsetted next year at a loss of almost $612,000. That's the Connections grant, Stronger Connections. This is the last year of it, and the revenue stream comes from the federal government, and we have little hope that that will be renewed going into next year. And there are 5 FTEs associated with that. So I know those numbers are large, 29 total, and all of them 5 in this one. We're not proposing that those 5 positions disappear when the grant disappears. We want you to know, because that has to be a consideration. That money has to be coming from another resource, probably from the general fund, or from another grant that we get going into next year. And it's important to note that we currently have applications out for about $1.1 million in future grants. So we have high hopes. They may not be the exact same grant, We could do a whole presentation, a whole evening on grants, because they are so detailed in what we say when we apply in order to win the prize. But our monitoring execution and demonstration that we did it is just as important as the application. And a failure to do so can basically blacklist us, or they could take the money back. So, Lynn and Alyssa have joined us. They're sharing that full-time job. They have spent an inordinate amount of time unraveling where we are and ensuring that we are hitting those very, very important marks. And I'm very grateful for the work that they've done. So we know who we're talking about and what this all means. Do you have any questions about what we've talked about so far? The only thing I was going to talk about next is class size.
When these people are hired under a full-time grant, or a full-time position under a grant, are they made aware that their job is, their salary is coming from a grant, and that when a grant runs out, they will possibly be out of a job?
My recommendation going forward would be to utilize grant money as an augmentation of the program that's supported by our general fund. In other words, we have highly skilled teachers, we have speech providers, we have psychologists, we have administrators, we have support staff, we have people who clean and serve us food. We need to be able to turn the lights on every day without that grant money.
Okay.
So I would suggest moving forward that we're very careful. Mike, you hit it. That's
Yeah, are they aware? Say, hey,
Achilles
I
heel.
may not have a job in 2 years.
So the right way to do that is if we're hiring someone who's augmenting program. Well, COVID era is a perfect example.
Okay.
Every school district got millions and millions of dollars that they had to use on top of money that they were already using for their budgets. And a lot of them went out, they hired extra AIS providers, so interventionists. They hired extra social workers, knowing that the pandemic was causing, litany of effects. All of those people should have known that at the end of the pandemic, their jobs would not exist. And the way to do that is called a fireman agreement. What that means is that someone who's hired for a district signs a document saying they understand that this position has a terminal date, that you're no longer an employee, unless something changes, a position opens up or you're hired. I don't know that we've done that, through everyone that's been hired in these grants. And also, they may not have been hired in the grant. They may have been moved there. As a for instance, from last year, there had to be some measures to ensure that when we finished the year, we finished in the black, right? We didn't finish as a deficit. So one of the ways to do that would be to move positions into a grant. Rewrite a portion of the grant, which they allow you to do, explain why you're moving a salaried position into a grant. So some of those people may not even been hired with the understanding they're in a grant. But I'm going to assume that almost everybody that we have that's been hired through the pandemic or been hired through any of these grants, they didn't sign agreements like that. They do, every month, they have to sign a piece of paper that says, I understand my position's being funded by a grant, but we make it clear to people that does not mean that when it goes, you go. That's not what our practice has been.
But would it be, if that's the case, would that position be budgeted?
That position will have to be budgeted in our general fund going forward.
Okay.
So that's why I say, going forward, I think it's just best practice. And I've learned it. I have learned it by making mistakes. And it's, it's no fault of anybody here. It's just good practice to say, like, well, we get a grant for teaching flying. We get a 2-year grant sponsored by the FAA, and they're going to run it out of the Schenectady Airport, which is very far away. I can't think of a Newburgh Airport. And we get to hire a flight instructor for that. You would clearly explain to that flight instructor that their position was for 2 years. They would sign an agreement that states that I understand my position in the district ends at that time. I have no expectation of probation or anything beyond that. That's good practice. And those are the kinds of things that we should see going forward, because we're going to have more grants. We're very fortunate here. Ordinarily, many districts just have title grants, which are state and federal grants every school gets, titles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But on top of that, we have, so many wonderful blessings, My Brother's Keeper, Stronger Connections, and that's both through grant writing and through the needs of the community.
Thank you.
Thanks. Dana?
I have a question for Christy. When you were talking about the tax cap, you mentioned tax levy growth factor increases within the community. I don't understand what that means. How do you come up with the 1.02?
Yeah, so we received that, that percentage, that's 1.0184, that one.
Yeah, well, down below, you changed it to 1.02.
Yeah, so those are two different,
All right, what does
yeah,
that mean then?
so those are two different factors. So the first one is the tax-based growth factor. So that's based on how much the community grows. And
Where do you get that?
so yeah, so that comes from, I believe, either the comptroller or the county. I will get back to you on the specific, but it is a number that we are that we receive. So that's not something that I figure out myself, but that is something that I've researched and received that number. But the allowable levy growth factor, that 1.02, is the 2% that we're talking about in terms of the allowable, the 2% tax levy, which is based on, give me a minute, because I want to explain this very clearly.
It's like this. If we had no other factors, all we'd get is 2%. That's what they mean when they say 2% tax levy. But everybody has other factors. I've had years when my tax cap was in the negative because of some of the factors. So 2% is just one line out of those 15 calculations.
That we're allowed to raise the tax levy by. And that's also received. We received that number as well. It could be a lower number, but it's typically it has been typically 1.02%, 2%.
Okay, so you'll get back to me about
I'll get back to you with more details, of course.
Anybody else? Amanda? I assume she's good.
Sorry, I'm here. My device makes me sign back in every time when I'm just listening. I just have questions about the class size stuff that's coming up, so I will hold them for the next round.
Right at our last meeting, we presented a generalized picture of class sizes, and I think what was missing was secondary wasn't called out very explicitly. So I do want you to know that the one thing that you can't see on this slide, this is the mixes class sizes, is that our students who are in self-contained special education classes are not included. There's an additional 54 students that we'll talk about when we do our presentation on special education. So what you see here is general education classes and integrated co-teaching classes, which is a blend of special ed and general ed in the same classroom. So that more accurate number for the elementary school right now is, what is that? 670 total students. It's just that I've pulled out those that are in special classrooms because it would mess with the averages. So the way I described it today to the cabinet was, if you were to walk into all the first grade classes, you would basically see about 20 kids in each classroom. And I think we were pretty close on this in the presentation last time too. At the junior high. And at the junior high, there are 37 students with disabilities in special classes that aren't counted in these, but we'll talk about in our special education presentation.
What does sections mean?
Roughly means we took the core subject areas, math, science, English, social studies, or if you're a generalist and you're teaching all four, that's a section. So, and the elementary school's got a mix, right? Elementary school, you might have a grade level where there's a math teacher, all they do all day is teach math to fourth grade. There's an English teacher, all they do is teach fourth grade English all day. And there are some teams that are, every teacher teaches all disciplines. So it's basically a classroom of students. It could be either one of those combinations. So the junior high is the same way. So it wouldn't represent like an art class or a music class or a PE class. They're not included in that averaging. And I've said before a few times, with about 1,400 students, we're just wrong sized. I mean that in an affectionate way. But like anyone who's ever worked in a junior high or in an elementary school, and you want a team, you want to create a team with equal sections with different people teaching different disciplines. When you have 90 kids, you can't have 4 or 8 teams. It's not the right number. That's why you see 5 sections. So we're just the wrong size. We're a little bit too big to just do 4 sections, although we could. We're a little bit too small to have 8 sections, so everyone just gets to teach math or English. So it makes it scheduling complex, and sometimes people don't get exactly what they want. You know, everyone at the elementary level up to grade 6 is a generalist. They can teach any discipline, so sometimes they can be specialists and teach one. Sometimes they have to teach all. And in the, we do have some recommended class sizes in the teacher contract. We're not near them right now. We know that, you know, our community and our school values, you know, class sizes where students can be treated like an individual. So there's a balance in there in all that. You know, you see 8th grade is kind of small at 17. And I can't believe the difference in our cohort class sizes is so drastic.
Are these 25, 26 figures?
They're this year's, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like they're only 10 apart. Some of these classes, like a grade, like 7th grade, you know, that's a huge difference between those 2 grade levels when you're trying to create equanimity between them.
Mm-hmm.
And the high school. And I asked
That's great.
our colleague from BOCES helped us with these numbers. I said, how did you establish this? Because high school is like 60 different courses. She said, I use social studies because everyone has to take social studies all 4 years. They have to take English too, but. So she chose social studies classes as an example. But obviously physics is going to be smaller. Algebra 1 is going to be bigger. You know, chemistry is going to be smaller. Our English 9 classes are going to be bigger.
Do you think the bubbles in 9th and 10th grade, is that just due to credit accumulation and students being held back in those grades, or is that a real bubble that started in their cohort back in elementary school?
Let's go back.
I'm pretty sure it was a cohort, right?
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that for the past
It was a
several
bubble of
years, we've
kids
been
from-
looking at these numbers. The kids who are in grade 10 now, that's been a large class.
Yes.
And that's been consistently large as they've progressed.
Yeah. But an intuitive person, unquestionably, there are some kids caught in the net. And, you know, in my experience, most frequently where students are lost or when they leave, they choose to drop out, they're frequently still in 9th grade.
Yeah, there was, I remember seeing some, it might have been Beds Day data, and it actually affects our athletic class size because there's a big, huge number of students who are technically in 9th grade that make us be the smallest Class A instead of one of the largest Class B schools.
Yeah.
I had one question just going back to, sorry to go backwards, about just want to refresh my memory that I'm thinking about this right, that even though we were very close to spending our budget last year, our unassigned fund balance went up, and that's because our revenues were higher than it was expected?
I thought you were going to ask why that slide said middle school. This is a better question.
So we had the tax reduction that we had to put into the unassigned fund balance. That was a requirement. So
Gotcha.
that's why it did increase.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, we went up by over almost 1.5 million. So some of it must have been revenue from someplace else too.
Amanda had a question about the class sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in I'm just wondering, like, as we think through budget and staffing, when we look at, for example, hold on, I lost it. When we look at, for example, the fact that fourth grade this year has 4 sections, right? But then K 1, 2, 3 have 5 sections. So when we think about next year's 5th grade, are we thinking about like removing a teacher there because that only has 4, but then we have to bump back up the following year? Like, what's the balance between sort of short-term and like long-term planning in that? And then Brian, you mentioned something about like class sections, like 4 being a good number because it lets people have a single subject, but my understanding is in 6th grade this year they reduced to 4, and that means everybody took on a section of social studies instead of actually having like single subjects for the first time in a while in the middle school. So just wondering about like planning for those things.
I'm thinking back to the first question. It's very nuanced. We all know that. Any of us who've worked in a school, we could look, this is no offense to kindergarten, we could look at kindergarten and say, oh, it's only 82 kids. Let's get rid of a section in 1st grade and move it over to 4th grade because you know it's going to be larger. But if that is the most difficult group of children we've ever had in our school, we wouldn't choose to do that. I wish it were as easy as numbers, but we know we're working with humans, and humans are varied, and it's sometimes hard to predict. But I mean, your first notion around it makes sense, but there's some other elements that I know that the leadership will consider, and the teams will consider. You know, as they're doing their sectioning going into next year, they'll have discussions around, well, what was difficult around this and what was easy around it. We, like, just looking at this, we don't know where, like, our students with disabilities lie. There might be a lot of them in 3rd grade and very few in 4th grade. So there's a few elements, but that is clearly one of them, as you've described. And I appreciate your commentary around social studies, and I don't know how they were sectioning it last year so that 5 people could specialize.
We lost a teacher in the 6th grade.
Say it again?
We lost a teacher in the 6th grade.
No, I know. I'm saying I'm not sure how they specialized with 5 teachers there, but I do know that you're right. Everybody's teaching social studies.
Well, I think they have ELA and
A writing.
and a writing class.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And now they have an AVID class, which is separate from,
True.
so they don't have the
And I
writing.
misspoke last time. I said out of like all of the potential cuts that were talked about last year, I said there was one teacher. I forgot that there was one associate principal position that was also eliminated going into this year. Did I miss any others?
Mine.
And that position was that 6th grade position. And Diana, what did you say?
Mine. I wasn't replaced.
I think there's a possibility that one of the positions was moved to the elementary school. I don't know that it was eliminated.
The 6th grade teacher went over to the
Yeah, that's
elementary
yes.
school.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions? Just give us a quick 30-second update of what happens next in the budget process.
Actually, I wanted to, when I'm doing my portion of the meeting tonight, I wanted to talk to you about the budget calendar.
Okay, great.
I have some examples of, I mean, this is a 20% of the story. We have transportation and food service and special education and athletics and a lot of other things that really is worth putting on the table because we are looking at the entire buffet and just selecting what we think is going to taste the best, right? So I want to be able to talk about timeline to make sure that we're able to put all that in front of you well before April 21st. And always in my mind, the worst thing that we can do for you is still be providing new information on April 21st when you're supposed to vote on the budget. So we want to ask some questions and make some adjustments to ensure that we get where we need to be at the end of March. So I'll talk about it when I sit down.
Great.
And I did forget to mention of the numbers from the high school, there are 45 students with disabilities accounted for outside of this number of 439 that we'll talk about with our presentation on special education.
And so we have facilities and technology.
Now that we have the room warmed up.
Good evening, everybody. How we doing, all right? So I'm a couple slides here on the facilities end, then I'll pass it off to Cheryl, and then we can take some questions at the end if you have. So facilities overview, we have 2 occupied buildings totaling 38,000 square feet, multiple outbuildings including press boxes, bathroom, concession stand, and storage facilities. Within those, we take care of janitorial, preventative maintenance, our grounds, health and safety, athletic fields, and security. It's about approximately 110 acres. That is with the property down at John L. Our buildings and grounds team is director of facilities. In the office with the senior clerk, we have a part-time inventory clerk. Maintenance staff consists of 3 buildings mechanics, 2 maintenance workers, 2 laborers, 1 which is part-time, and also 1 labor truck driver. The custodial staff on that side is 7 people in the day staff. There's 3 in each building, and then 1 floats back and forth if somebody's absent. There's 2 mid-shift guys, 1 at each building, and night staff consists of 5 staff in each building with 1 floater. It allows us to have our weekend staff, takes up the Monday through Friday. Let's see what we got. Complete facility spending picture. I put this slide up here just to show you the day-to-day costs against the capital, just because of all the projects we got going on. I just wanted people to understand that our O&M is our day-to-day costs, keep the school safe, our salaries, utilities, repairs are all within that. It's all funded by our general budget, and it's operated by our facilities team. The other side of that is the capital expenditures. Those are more major investments, building additions, roof replacements, HVAC upgrades. They're funded through voter approval, and they're planned with architects, construction managers, and submitted to SED. First, these are more of our fixed costs. What our anticipated budget looks like for 26 and 27. Our fuels and electricity look like are going to be a little bit of an increase. Hopefully with the EPC that we save some money on electricity and that number does go down. The other fixed costs really are water and sewer, telephone, which we also fund out of telephone, is our internet and repairs to our telephone system. It's not just the telephone bill. We're also hopeful in that line will drop in the next year with our smart schools, with taking on the new voice over IP system. Material and supplies out of this line looks like it's going to stay the same. This is cleaning, garbage bags, toilet paper, paper towels, things along that nature. These are all state contract items through Omnia, and if they don't reach state contract, they beat state contract. Our next code is our 1621 code, which is more of a maintenance side of things. Our equipment line there is staying the same again. We've been very fortunate with the last few years on replacing some of the bigger ticket items like trucks and sanders and plows. We're hopeful in the next couple of years, once we get past that, to start moving down to some of the janitorial equipment, more floor machines and scrubbers and things that aren't as big of a ticket item, and we can buy, get more bang for our buck there. Our contractuals there looks like it's getting ready to stay the same, hopefully. That's like our garbage disposal, elevators, contracts, boiler contracts, things that are in line for, a constant. We try to keep them for multiple years so we can keep that number consistent. Materials and supplies are really our preventative maintenance. This is where we're at Lowe's or Harrington's and fixing things on a daily basis. And then our BOCES building and grounds code is our fire extinguisher tests, our annual inspections, fire alarm testing, things along that nature. Here's just a picture of, at a glance, kind of some of the vehicles that we had in 2021. We got rid of some of the lawn mowers, accessories that we're using now on a constant basis. Golf cart we replaced. You can see it on the left side there. That was the original box truck that we're delivering food every day in. The one above it is the new one. And down on the right-hand corner is one of our older dump trucks. I'm not sure the year. Chip could probably tell you the year, but 03, and then now it's a 2026 dump truck. So these are the things that we are allowed to generate and replace with that $63,000 every year. And, you know, like I said, hopefully we'll get to the smaller ticket items, but, you know, we had to start somewhere. The next 3 slides are just the projects that are going on. I wanted to put these on there because I wanted you to see which building was being funded with which energy measure. This here is the high school, the junior senior high. It's 2.9 million of the capital. Those are all the things that are going to be funded through the capital. I know sometimes it just gets a little, you know, confusing with how much we're getting ready to do and where it's coming from. So these next 3 slides, I won't go through it all for you, but if you have a question, you can refer back to these slides and see where it's funded out of. Elementary is $3 million on the projects. There's everything that's coming out of the capital. And then all the energy performance measures are $8 million through the EPC, and those are actually both buildings. Capital outlay is something that a lot of districts take advantage of. It's a project. It's much smaller project repair. It consists of 1 building, so we're looking to choose elementary first, and then we'll alternate building by building. It's a project that you can go up to $100,000 in every year, and it's aidable. So the next year funds the next year and constantly keeps going. Our building aid, I believe, is 68%, so roughly 70% of the $100,000 if we spend, we get back to next year to do another project. They do require seeker and SED submission. Here was just one quick slide of some revenue that we do take in. This is our current year, and then this is since 2021, since I got here, that we were kind of just keeping track of. I was trying to get a hold of our scrap and the pool rentals. The pool rentals is not in that rentals. I was just working with Matt and our scrap company they didn't have that information right back to me right away, but I'll get it for you. Load curtailments are demand response, if you have a question on that. That is, we work with a local company who works with National Grid for high demand of energy. If it's a real hot day or a real cold day, they contact big facilities like ourselves, ask us to lower our KW, which we do, and we receive paybacks. Since 2021, we've received $26,000. Our car chargers aren't really big of a huge payback. I think it's more of a public entity, but you know, they in the end will generate enough to hopefully pay for them. And then our rentals over the year, rentals for the auditorium, any of the facilities. Looks like we're almost to 5,000 already this year, and 73,000 since 2021. And that is all I have. Do you have any questions now? You want me?
I have a couple.
That's fine.
For the new boilers, and the new equipment we're going to get, are you going to have to send guys out for training?
Yeah, so.
And who pays for that?
One of their slides in the EPC was really generated in that one. The year of 26, when they're on, we actually have training for our mechanics.
Is that included in that, or is
Yes.
it? It is,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, and they're also 1-year warranty, so we won't have to worry about that.
1 year, that's it?
Yeah, everything out of the box is 1 year. The following year, we'll pick up our boiler contract again, so we will save 30 grand on our annual boiler contract, which is preventative, cleaning, things like that.
They'll do that, or they'll be done in-house?
Nope, it's warranted.
Okay.
So they do, Johnson Controls and the contractors do that for both boiler rooms. So we'll save the 30 grand in this, well, it'll be next year for, if they get the boilers in. And then the following year, we'll pick up the boiler contract again.
Okay. The way this winter's been with the OT and salt usage, was that figured in the budget for this year or for next year?
Yeah, so currently, right now, we're still under budget. We haven't hit very hard with overtime. But, you know, the numbers that we projected at the beginning of the year, we're still under. So we're hopeful that it stops snowing.
We all are.
And how about the energy savings from the new boilers and stuff? Was that figured into the budget for next year, the deduction?
Not yet, so that's why we're projected where we are, because we don't know when those savings will exactly happen.
Okay. Thank you.
I got one. You're all set? I may have missed it, but is there anywhere for trash removal, or did the companies just dispose of the old boiler and the old pool tiles and all the stuff that's coming out?
No, that's within both projects.
Okay,
Yep, good question.
that was all. Thanks.
Good?
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, board members and community members and people at home. Tonight, I'm going to speak to you about a brief update with technology as well as our budget. So I'd like to start with the technology staff. We have a small staff, but a mighty staff. As you know, technology impacts everybody. It's students, staff, families, every building. We have a lot of items that we work with, that we deal with every day. We have a full-time technology manager, which is myself. We have 3 computer service specialists, 1 at each campus, full-time, and then the 1 that goes back and forth. We also have a part-time secretary, which that position is in the process of being filled. We have a network administrator service. So our network administrator is not our employee, it's a service through our BOCES, and they're here 5 days a week. Additionally, through the Verizon Innovative Learning Program, there's some funding that supports the role of 2 instructional technology coaches, and those positions live in the buildings, 1 in the middle school and 1 in the high school. And our focus is always providing high-quality support for our staff and our students, and in a timely manner. This is just a snapshot of all the items that we do support. I won't read everything here for you, but I'll just point out a couple of things. Our teacher laptops, they're about 6 years old and they need to be replaced. So we're going to be looking at making a recommendation to replace our laptops for our teachers. The Chromebooks, while you may say that's a big number, through some of the COVID monies, we were able to purchase Chromebooks over the years, and then we got a grant, the Verizon grant, so that was able to buy more Chromebooks. Those Chromebooks are used. They're used by the students. We use a lot of them for computerized testing, so if the student forgets them, we have a whole set of Chromebooks. We also have extra Chromebooks in classrooms, so they get really widely used. On this slide, I want to point out the help desk tickets. That number right there, 5,347 help desk tickets, those are our tickets that we have just from last year. We instituted a help desk. It really helps us track for many reasons, track to see what the issues are as well as to provide training. Software programs, we have about, give or take, 130 instructional and administrative programs. We have a board policy. And every year with that board policy, all the administrators get together and they look at the data of all the software, and then we make recommendations if software programs are being used or they're not being used. And the principals, they work with their faculty to have that dialogue as well. And it's really, you know, the total cost of ownership. Okay. As you know, district technology, I'm always very proud of our committee. They're a hard-working committee. It's very collaborative, it's students and staff. We know that New York State requires the school district to have a 3-year technology plan. Our current plan is from 2022 to 2025. This year, the committee is working on updating the new plan from 2026 to 2029. Surveys have gone out. Those are links to the surveys. There's been a lot of parent square messages. Our students, our families, and our faculty and staff are giving us feedback, and we're going to use that data plus the New York State Digital Equity Surveys and our IT needs assessment, you know, what we see every day, and create our next 3-year plan. So that's an update on that, and I will come back and speak to you in June with the finished plan to make a recommendation. But I just wanted you to know where we are right now with it. Also, the committee, again, hardworking committee, I always like to shout them out twice. They're making recommendations for updating the technology policies. We already did that this year, so we're very excited about that. That was completed in the fall. We drafted an AI policy. That was also completed. And right now, we drafted an artificial intelligence plan. Right now, it's sent out to all the staff, and it will also be sent out to families to give input. And that plan is going to kind of drive us where we are with artificial intelligence for students and staff. We're also developing a social media policy. Our subcommittee has been working on that, and then we'll be making recommendations to the policy committee and ultimately the board. And the last thing in regard to planning, you may know we have a cyber incident response plan. That plan doesn't get published because it's a confidential plan. The board would have a copy of it and the administrators, but it's not something we would post on our website. That's what we do if there's a cyber emergency. Smart schools, you're all aware that we presented the smart schools last summer. That link is to our plan that's on our website. Right now, the status of it is it's at state ed. It's come back a couple of times. They review it, they send it back. That's the process. You've heard the architect and various people speak tonight when they submit things. So it's good that they're doing their due diligence. Tyler and I always joke that we wish they would review it once, send it back to us, but they don't. They review it a couple times. So it's in process, and we hope to have an answer on it soon. And the website will have all the information. This is just, again, this is really what I said, but if anyone is interested out in the community, the board, they can go to our website and look at the plan. Okay, computer-assisted instruction. So the technology budget is made up of equipment, similar to Tyler equipment, contractual, software, computer materials and supplies, and BOCES. If you look at last year's budget to the proposed 26-27 budget, the only place that we see increases, and that has to do with contractual. It's stuff that we can't change. It's more contractual. There's a software increase. And the one thing, so that it's in software and it's also in the BOCES services. When a district purchases services, whether it's software, hardware, any type of service through a BOCES, we get state aid on it and we get it back the following year. Not all of it, but a certain percentage. So it's very fiscally prudent to really purchase your services and your software through that. So that's why you see the increase, but otherwise it's rolled over. Also, some other support that supports the budget, the technology budget, the budget in general. I'm going to put my glasses on for this. So we have the Verizon Innovative Learning Schools. Now, while we may not have gotten $2 million in cash, we got it in Chromebooks with cellular data for our students and our staff, grades 6 through 12. This is our second year, and they let Dr. Bailey and I know that there's going to be 2 more years. So that's nothing the district has to pay. We'll have that for our students. And it's great, everyone has internet. It also, I mentioned, it funds the 2 instructional technology coaches. It also provided some professional development and some technology supplies for the district. And then recently in January, the board approved a grant from the Hudson Endowment Fund. We're very thankful for that. That was a problem that we had with, you may be aware, Google wouldn't allow Google Translate anymore in the district, as well as the governor with the cell phones. So we needed to have ways so our students can translate, use different translations. So I reached out to the Hudson Endowment Fund, and they supported us. And what you're going to be seeing, we're purchasing the time kettle devices, they're called. They're translation devices. We're going to provide professional development for our teachers and other applicable staff, and we're also going to provide workshops for students and their families. And it could be used anywhere throughout the district, board meetings, and so forth. We also were just recently notified that we received from the New York the governor's office a local cybersecurity grant, which is going to provide multi-factor authentication tokens to our staff. And that's just another layer of protection. I'm sure you know, cyber incidents are on the rise, especially schools. We've been getting a lot of phishing incidences here, and our staff has been very good with finding them, letting us know. So we're very excited about that. It's just an extra layer of security. And the last piece is the records grant. We were awarded the records grant for $70,000. Right now, we're applying for the second stage, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. The first one was student records, and we're looking to do phase 2, which may be student records, but maybe moving to other types of records. That's still in process. At a later date, I'll speak to you about it. And lastly, just want to acknowledge, I always like to acknowledge, because I think it's really important, that none of this gets done unless you have a team and everyone working together. So I won't go through the whole list, but of course I'm thanking all of you in the community. And if anyone's interested, those are all links and can look at those programs further. Those are some of the programs that I mentioned, but it gives you the details. So that was it in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions?
The translator, what is that? Is it on the computer or is it a voice activated?
No, it's an actual device. It's called a time kettle. We're purchasing them right now. Once they're purchased, if your board would like, we can come do a demonstration.
I would love that.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, we had applied for 25, but we got a good price on them, so we're going to be getting 40 of them that will go throughout the whole district for students and even adults who may need them. I mean, it's primarily for students, but adults could use them as well. We'll have extra ones. But yes, they do that, and they translate in many, many languages.
Will they be assigned, will they be assigned to specific students with limited English proficiency, or will they be in the class, like, per
Combination,
classroom?
a combination.
Okay.
They will sign it out, so if there's a newcomer who comes who really needs it, they'll get assigned it.
Okay.
You know, so, and that's why we're starting with 40, and we definitely see that eventually if this, you know, we piloted it before we wrote the grant, and it worked very well, but it could be something that, over, you know, we may have to increase, but right now 40 is a good chunk, but I'd be happy to come and present that.
How much, Cheryl, how much is one?
So the original price was $699, but we got it, I think it was, do you remember, Christy, like 437? I think it was 430, I can get you the exact amount.
It's all right.
So, yeah, about that, like 400 and a half. So that's why we were able to buy 15
cheap.
more. No, they're not, but a necessity, yeah. Any other questions?
Outside of the NARIC network admin, what other costs are associated with that BOCES line?
Okay, let me go back. Sorry. I have my laptop and I'm clicking. That's what happens when you use too much technology, right? So which code are we referring to here?
It's the
Yeah.
the bottom one.
So a big chunk of that is the service that we get through BOCES for our network services, as well as some renewals and subscriptions that we have. Even though there's a software code there, that's a lot of the software that we buy directly from the vendor, but a lot of the other software that we buy through Questar and NARIC and some other contractual, like other BOCES, that will be in that code as well.
Got it.
Like the student portal, isn't
I'm
that
sorry?
the portal, the parent portal is an error service,
Yes,
isn't it? Yeah.
parent portal is, we get that through NARIC, yep. And if the board would like, I have a whole list of everywhere where I buy everything.
Okay, great. And have you gotten a lot of responses to the technology survey?
Yes, we
Okay.
did, but we always would want more, but yes, we have. And, you know, we've had it out for 3 months, which is really good. Yeah,
Great.
okay.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
At this time, we do have a need for an early executive session for the discussing the employment history of a particular person or persons. I make a motion to enter executive session at 7:50 p.m.
Second.
All in favor? We'll be as quick as we can. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Hello? Okay. Make a motion to exit executive session at 8:16 PM.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you again for your patience. We have our personnel agenda. Make a motion to accept personnel agenda items A 1 through 12 and B 1 through 9.
Second.
All in favor? And next we have public comment. As you all know, we can't entertain comments about district personnel or students. And also, please don't expect the board to respond to all of your concerns tonight. We want to be able to research your issues and get back to you with the appropriate response. Each speaker has 3 minutes.
First, we have Chris Hoffman.
Hi, my name's Chris Hoffman. I'm a head custodian down at MC Smith. I'm here to talk about some issues that are going on. We bring in a lot of our own tools to do work around the building that are not supplied by the district. Without those tools, it would cost the district money to end up go outside to end up have that work done. We also, me myself down at my building, I have been down there for a little over 4 years. I haven't had a night supervisor in those 4 years, which has caused a lot of out of work phone calls to me because there is not a supervisor when I leave at 2:30, which the district is not paying for me to end up take those phone calls, nor are they paying for the phone that is needed to take those phone calls. As you guys already know, we're in negotiations, and I would encourage you guys to meet with your representatives that sit on the bargaining table and advocate for real cost of living raises in addition to important work and that I and other maintenance and custodial staff do to keep the district running. The cost of living in Hudson continues to rise. Our union representatives want to have conversations at the bargaining table about strong competitive wages that acknowledge the work that we are doing, but unfortunately it has been difficult. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mark Pullen.
Good evening, board members. My name is Mark Pullen. I'm a maintenance worker here at the Hudson City School District. I'm responsible for a lot of the plumbing and groundskeeping work that gets done throughout the district. I say a lot because I cannot take full credit, because this district is blessed with a team of men and women with various diverse backgrounds who can be shuffled or moved around wherever a need arises. So I cannot take full credit for all the groundskeeping and all the plumbing work that gets done. These dedicated individuals give the district 40-plus hours a week, and when a need arises there outside of and in addition to the scope of our 40-hour work week, we all rise to the call and report. These obligations and responsibilities are becoming increasingly more difficult for us to meet financially, which is why we're here. These men and women, myself included, have lives outside the district. We have families and loved ones who we're responsible for and who depend on us. Please understand that we're not asking anyone to reach into their own pockets, nor are we asking that the district expend their entire budget on us. All we're asking is that the district work with us on coming to a mutual agreement for fair and reasonable pay increases. With the talks that are currently underway, and if there are no changes, each of these faithful men and women will be bringing home less money in the next school year to provide for their families and loved ones than they did this year. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for speaking.
Next, we have Chip Martin.
Good evening. I'm Chip Martin. Like Mark Pone was saying, we're available 24/7 for the school, and We rise for any occasion, any problem, 24/7. We do, as you know, it's all the snow cleanup within significant time. And the money that we save this district with bringing our own personal tools in this building that the school does not supply. And if you go out of the building, we keep everything we can in-house. If you had to go outside this building to get your maintenance done, your cost would be significantly higher. So I just like to put that out there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And thank you all for everything you guys do for the district. We do appreciate it and take your comments very seriously.
Next, we have Nikki Janito.
Hello, everybody. I would like to talk to the board tonight about the superintendent search. I saw on this board agenda that there are a bunch of meetings coming up, and I want to speak about that quickly. I am the president of the AIDS unit and have received a couple emails from Quita Adams. She was asking me when was a good time to meet with the AIDS and this and that, and I told her that she really needed to speak to the AIDS. I don't speak for all the AIDS. She told me she does not have access to emails through the district, which seems to be a big problem. There is also a bunch of other meetings on there, and I've talked to community members, I've talked to other unit members. Nobody knows about these meetings. It's an issue. I'm not sure why she wouldn't have access to emails if she's trying to do a superintendent search and needs to get a hold of members of the school. She's asking me to reach my members. That's not my job. She needs to reach out to members, but she doesn't need to reach out to members. The AIDS unit are all not members of the unit, so she needs to reach out to all aides, all teachers, all TAs, if that's how she wants to do it, not just members. And I think there needs to be a little more talking to her, or I'm not sure what's going on, but to have focus meetings and nobody knows about your focus meetings is an issue. Our meeting is scheduled for tomorrow night, which I just found out about, and nobody knows about it. And it's at 7 o'clock at night, 7 to 8, which seemed a little late to me. So I am asking the board to please circle back maybe with Ms. Adams and find out what is going on. We cannot go through what we have gone through with the last two superintendents. We really need to get it right this time. And I don't see much change right now, which I heard things were going to be different this time. It's not. So far, I'm not seeing much better. So I'm asking you to please get back with her and see what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. I was planning on addressing that later, but I understand all your concerns.
And finally, we have Peter Meyer.
May I propose a board policy giving alumni, board alumni, ability to speak first at any meeting?
We'll bring it up with the policy
I could
committee.
write it in less than 350 words. Thank you. Could you give me a 1 minute? I know we always have a little problem with this time thing. A 1 minute sign, and then I can start. Then I can start telling you. So I was first want to address the haircut question, which is a bit of a protest because two of the last classes we had with School Life News. This, for those of you who don't know, we had a wonderful junior journalism program for almost 10 years in the classrooms, 5th grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. But two of the last classes were Mike getting a haircut from Tate's barbershop. And you got to see how kids love to ask questions, especially 5th graders. It's all true. And the questions they asked Tate were amazing. And when Tate came into one of the classes, we doubled up with 60 kids. So you talk about class size. Journalists don't have any problem with class size. We run a news desk, and the kids love it, and they react, and they love to ask questions. And the only problem was afterwards when I did a little survey of teachers, how they liked the program. The teacher for that classroom said she didn't want Tate ever coming back because she was sweeping up hair for 6 months. Anyway, I'm about questions. I just want to I'll try to keep it 3 minutes. All I care about is encouraging the board to ask the proper questions in order to get the proper superintendent. I was on the board when went through this, and we did it for nothing, and we got a great superintendent. So let me just start with Board of Education goals and objectives, which I just picked up. 1 minute left? Oh, la la. See how time flies when you're having fun. Board of Education goals is that questions. When was it written? By whom was it written? How much did it cost? And what resources and research was used to prepare it? Now let me jump to the superintendent. What was wrong? The board, these are questions the board should ask. You ask hard questions, and you'll get good answers, and then you get good solutions. What was wrong with the search process for the last 2 superintendents? What was right about the search process for the last successful superintendent? This is a great district. We have great people, and we need to find them. And sometimes they're standing right in front of you, and I suggest that they're standing right in front of you. We have the capacity in this district to do good. One of our 5th grade class, 150 kids with our program, teaching journalism, increased ELA scores in 1 year with 25 classes by 11 points. We can do it. We've got plenty of people, but you guys have to ask the right questions. There's plenty of people around like me would be glad to spend an hour or 2 telling you or helping you find the right questions in order to get the right answers.
I appreciate that. Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Peter.
And I'm too old for this. You guys.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Always love to hear
Thank
from
you all for doing this.
Of course, you got it.
You'll get
And that's it.
All right. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your comments. Superintendent's report.
So I placed in front of.
Dr. Bailey an incentive to stay.
Thanks, Peter. I placed in front of you a budget development timeline. We talked about it briefly back in November, December. And really what I would like you to focus on in the areas in bold, which represent existing meetings and potential meetings. Unquestionably, to Peter's point, we need to have a little bit more robust and public discussions around student performance in the district. And obviously, if we added it tonight, we would have been here well past midnight. So we wanted to ask if, so tonight we presented facilities, technology, revenue, and expenditure. And as I mentioned, there are other things that are relevant to us that are very important for you to hear the stories about, including athletics, transportation, food service, special education, administrative costs, and the board budget. And as well as K through 12 programming. That means our staffing numbers. That's the most largest investment that we make as a part of every school budget. And as I said, we want to deliver it to you before April 21st. So we're proposing that we insert a meeting on March 10th. That's only a workshop. It would not be a traditional board meeting with all of the formal sections of the board meeting. So there wouldn't be any action on behalf of the board, but instead we could dig into presentations from the building leaders around student performance on state tests and their progress toward their targets. And if you were willing, you see how aggressive I am here with the scheduling. Athletics, transportation, and food service, which are fairly straightforward. So they would be good ones to partner with an academic presentation if you would be able to consider an additional meeting. And then on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, hearing the overall K-12 program, we're talking about our staffing numbers, along with special education, which is our continuum of services, administrative costs, and board budget. So it's an opportunity to bring together everything that you've heard before then. And then we have a long layover until April 21st. So if there are additional questions or things that the board needs, there could be an additional meeting in between, or they could be answered on the 21st. but timelines get tight after April 21st. We have all kinds of state mandated deadlines to meet. So you can see, what some of those are. So that's my question, whether the board would be willing to consider a special meeting on March 10th. That is also, for those of you keeping score, a policy committee meeting. So, I mean, there's a few things that we could do. We could do an abbreviated policy meeting and begin the board meeting at 6. We could begin the board meeting, we see what time it is now. We could begin the board meeting at 5 or 5:30. I know that we have members of the board who can't be here at 5. But we could, begin the meeting somewhere between 5 and 6 and tackle these other areas of the budget as well as the academics.
What time's the policy meeting?
Policy's at 5.
Yep.
I'd let Amanda chime in because she's the policy committee chair, and just have her give her official answer.
I love our policy committee meetings and I would like to keep them going, but I think in this moment, like truly giving time to the academic data, like really should be our full attention on that day. So I would be happy to just kind of have more asynchronous work. I think we had a good flow of like disseminating some tasks in policy. And so I would propose just swapping it because I think like really focusing on the academic data feels really important in this moment.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So is everybody here available on March 10th?
Yes. Is it Tuesday?
Tuesday, yep. So we'd have a meeting on March 10th and then March 17th. And you were saying if we needed to squeeze one in and...
Will it be a meeting or a workshop?
It'll be a workshop, yeah.
Okay.
So it means no public comment, no other business for us to vote on. We'd just be listening and discussing various presentations about academics and budgets. And then prior to the 21st, we would have, there's 3 other Tuesdays that would be options if we decided we needed to have an extra meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So, but really only 2 unless we wanted to have 3 meetings in a row. But yeah, let's do it. And I agree, we need to spend some time talking about academic performance and our goals that we're trying to hit and how we can get there before this year's over.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So what time do you want to do it?
On the 10th.
I'm personally fine keeping it at 6 p.m., but could also do 5 p.m. if everybody can get here.
I can get here by 5:30 reliably.
Let's call it 5:30.
I think it's a good compromise.
Great.
Yep. We know, for all of us, we're better minds when we're fresh, so I think starting a half hour earlier would be good. Thank you for doing that. I had opportunity to be with a few legislators in a couple different settings, and I wanted to just point the board's focus on the 3 areas that at least the Questar BOCES superintendents have been keeping an eye on. One, of course, is the electric buses. I know, although we don't have a bus fleet of our own, obviously whatever bus fleet we use would be compelled to move toward electric buses. The original deadline, I believe, was no fossil fuel burning buses could be purchased after 2028, which seemed like a ridiculously long ways away 2 years ago. Obviously not the case now. The governor has made some adjustments to the timeline, but at our last meeting, the superintendents of Chatham and Hoosick Falls?
Taconic
Hills,
Taconic
thank you,
Hills.
presented, and similar to stories I've heard from other school districts, it's a great idea. It's problematic in implementation right now. It's in the cold weather. Between the 2 schools, 7 buses, 0 operate below 30 degrees.
Wow.
And this has been an interesting winter, so you can see that they have not been used very much at all.
Something else, just touching on that, not to cut you off. I know one of the board members from Taconic Hills, and they've done some research on it. And the buses, they have to maintain the batteries' warmth in the
Yeah.
wintertime, and in the summertime, they have to maintain them cool. And the cost ratio is, compared to a gas, is off the charts.
And they can't park them inside.
Yes.
I mean, I have to just guess that Hochul is going to have to change her mind when she realizes, you know, all the moving parts in this.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But
Great initiative and concept, and certainly I think none of the superintendents would argue against hybridization. That is a different marriage, and then in the event that the battery's not going to work, you have another way to get where you need to go. And the technology is just not there yet. So know that at least actually every superintendent in the state is advocating in the same direction. There's some proposal changes around UPK and additional funding for UPK. We currently receive 2 grants for UPK, but the new proposal, not only including new funding, will require a district to hire sufficient staff for any potential child that could be enrolled in UPK. We all know that you can't make someone go to UPK, and some people, for lots of reasons, choose to keep their children home. So we're worried about that mandate because it would require us to actually hire all of the staffing for all 100 potential kids, but we may still only have 42 show up or 52, you know? So it's a little off in the distance. I think it's 2028 again, but we're gently suggesting changes to that. And of course, the last discussions were around foundation aid, as they always are. Hudson is one of the many hold harmless schools in New York State, meaning that if they were to run the formula, update the formula and run it as they should, because of our lowering enrollment, we would have a significant impact on the way the foundation aid formula is in place right now. So we're continually advocating that we wouldn't be able to withstand the loss of $700,000 or $1 million in aid. That's about it. Yes, Laura.
What is UPK?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Universal Pre-Kindergarten.
So
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Everybody knows UPK. And I was thinking about doing another presentation, but I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have our consent agenda next. I'm going to make a motion to table consent agenda item K. I get a second?
Second.
Yeah, all in favor? And
Need to recuse myself from V.
yes, and we're going to pull out item V. So make a motion to accept consent agenda items A through J and L through U.
Second.
All in favor? And make a motion to accept consent agenda item V.
Second.
All in favor? Make one recusal. And I did want to acknowledge that we are grateful for donations, to accept donations from All Town Fresh, the Berkshire Taconic Fund, and the Hudson Teachers Association. Thank you for supporting our students. And next we have our policies. Amanda, you want me to just rattle off these, or you have extra commentary?
Nope, I think they're pretty straightforward, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, well, so we had discussed in policy the 5405 student wellness policy, actually bringing it back for a third reading, just because there were such significant updates from our lawyer on it. So wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to continue to read that. There's also a suggestion on page 5 of 7 that's highlighted in red. You see one bullet point that was struck through. That was a suggestion from a lawyer, and then some language that the committee came up with that felt a little bit more appropriate. There was some back and forth about it. Not a general consensus. If there's any thoughts from the rest of the board now, we can discuss it. If not, you can send us your any feedback you have prior to our next policy committee meeting, which will be in a few minutes.
I'm going to just chime in on context on that a little bit. So the lawyer suggested, or it wasn't our lawyer actually, it was the NISBA, oh no, it was the lawyer, sorry. Sometimes she's looks at sort of language that's been adopted in other districts nearby. And there was some language around just supporting a culture of body positivity and making sure that our wellness policy was doing that. And so the conversation we had was, do we want to add that language, or do we want to kind of stay away from that entirely? And there wasn't really consensus in the policy committee meeting on that, so we figured we would bring it to the full board for discussion.
Yes. And my interpretation of it was just that as teachers or district personnel or even parents bring things into school for students to enjoy, that we're not framing things as, if you eat that, it'll make you fat, or that's what heavy people eat, things like that, taking that out of the conversation and instruction in the building. So that's my interpretation of this, and a reason that I would be in support of keeping this language in. But yeah, have a read, and we can discuss it further. The policy 1222 relationship with booster organizations. Teresa Hayes, president of the Hudson City School District Booster Club, gave the policy committee some feedback on items 2 and 3. She seemed happy with the way that it was written, and if everybody here is good with it, then I think we could move to adopt this one, unless you have any objections, Amanda. I guess Amanda's good with it. Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, so then I will make a motion to accept policy 1222, relationship with booster organizations.
Second.
All in favor? And then we do have second readings of policy 1120 series. This is all around school district records. I actually believe that don't believe there have been any changes made since the first reading of these. Amanda, can you confirm that?
Yeah, no, I think this is the same as last time when it was up. It just went up again. We took out any changes to the fee structure. And so this is the same as the first read.
Great. So unless there's any objections, we can make a motion to accept these policies.
Second.
So make a motion to accept policy 1120, 1120R, 1120E, 1120E2, 1120E3 school district records. Can I get a second?
Now you can go.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Now we do have some superintendent search updates. Our community survey is still available. We'll be closing out in the next week, so please fill it out if you have not had a chance to do so yet. I do apologize that the leadership profile was initially listed on this agenda. It is not yet complete. Board members conducted individual interviews with Dr. Kawita Adams, and she's compiled a summary of those interviews, which will be compiled with any feedback that she receives during our focus groups, so that the leadership profile is comprehensive and reflects the thoughts and feelings of everybody in the district. And Nikki did steal my thunder a little bit, but I do want to apologize for some confusion in the communication and scheduling of our focus groups. If you feel like your group has not been contacted or scheduled, or individually would like to attend a session and don't know when it is, please get in touch with the board or the district clerk. But otherwise, central office administrators met last night for their focus group. Teacher assistants met with Dr. Adams tonight between 6 and 7. They met virtually. Additional focus groups tomorrow night. We have an in-person focus group at the high school library for parents and community members. Spanish and Bengali translation will be available, as well as Wordly devices for folks who speak other languages. On Thursday, February 26th in the high school library, the Hudson Educational Secretaries will meet from 6 to 7, and the Hudson Teachers Association will meet between 7 and 8. On Monday, March 2nd, there's another parent and community member focus group at 7 p.m. Again, Spanish and Bengali translation will be available, as well as Wordly translation devices. March 4th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. there is a catch-up session for anybody who has not been able to attend any of the other focus groups with Spanish and Bengali translation available. Another makeup session will be Thursday, March 5th at 6:30 p.m. And I have on here, we have March 9th, Monday, March 9th, scheduled for teachers' aides from 6 to 7 p.m. So we'll make sure that all of the aides get contacted. And if there's any other issues, like I said, please get in touch with us. It is very important to us that everybody has an opportunity to have their voices heard and participate in this process.
Is there any way we can get this on our website or on the Facebook page or any of that so that people have the dates?
Yeah, I think tomorrow morning, very first thing, we'll just need to circle up everybody involved and just make sure that we have the most comprehensive strategy for making sure everybody knows about this. Not
Could
that
you
it's
just go through that list of focus groups again, like who the meetings are for? Administrators, they already met.
Yep, administrators, teaching assistants. There's a parent and community members group. There's a Hudson Educational Secretaries, Hudson Teachers Associations, parents and community members. 2 other sessions for anybody who's not doesn't fall within one of those other groups or has missed one of the other sessions, and then a teachers aid group. So I know there's been attempts to schedule one with the custodial workers and food service workers, and then I assume at this point we'll try and schedule them for one of the other sessions.
Mark, can I ask that when we post on Facebook or whatever social media outlet we use, can we pull out the translation, the ones with translation, as a separate post additionally to help make sure that people are aware that that's available, to try to maximize attendance on those?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
So I just have a comment and then a question. My comment is that the notifications went out during the break, and which was really poorly timed. And it wasn't even early in the break. It was later in the week, you know? So it didn't give people any time. I mean, I think they were through emails, but if people aren't checking that, you know what I mean? So I think that's where Nikki was upset. And 7 o'clock at night for aides. They're not coming back to the building, you know, that just didn't seem like it was a very practical time and very thought out for the group the focus group.
Yeah. Like I said, we definitely need to do a better job of A, communicating, and B, just orchestrating this effort in general. So
I do have one question. Are the summaries going to be posted so that people Or is that something
Yeah,
that's
so
private? Okay.
Once all the focus groups are done, Dr. Adams will come and do a presentation that where she presents a summary of her findings of her conversations with us,
each of the groups.
the survey group, the survey results, and the feedback from all the focus groups.
Okay.
I think her intention is to do it all together at the same time, so that, you know, for instance, the community doesn't hear.
It's not an influence.
Exactly. They don't hear, oh, well, this is what the board is saying, and have that influence what they say, or vice versa.
That makes
So
sense.
in April, or our second meeting in March, we should have a presentation of this overall picture of who the board and who the community, what we're looking for in our superintendent. But I'm going to call Dr. Bailey first thing in the morning and rope him into this, and we'll figure out how to make sure that these scheduling and communication happens more efficiently.
I believe communications is watching, so she's told me the steps, and you know, to as Maureen mentioned, went out over the break, and it went out through our Parent Square platform, and some of the internal addresses were not correct. So that's part of the issue, and the timing was not wonderful either. But she understands. She's gone directly to the district email, and she's sending out things to everyone with the dates and times, so that they don't have to worry about whether if they're in this group they got a particular one. And she has been doing Facebook for families, and I just made the suggestion around the languages, which is a great suggestion. So well heard. And she's, you know, coming up with these strategies, and we'll be sure to get that comprehensive list on the website too.
I have one more question. What's the status? There was a video that was going to be put together, right? Promotional video.
Filming has been ongoing.
Okay.
It might even be happening right now.
It's true. But we expect it soon. They started filming before the break.
Yeah. But the job posting is live. Advertisements have gone out, so we should be, you know, receiving applications, and you know, all moving towards our goal of having candidates to review in early April.
Is the link on our district website?
I believe it is. Yeah, it should be. Yep, superintendent search.
There is a I don't know if it's a drop down, but there is definitely something about the.
Yeah, there's a page.
There's
Yep.
a page for that, for the superintendent search.
Yep.
I know it was listed.
I see. Advertising.
Do all district employees have a district website or
District email? They should.
Yeah.
Regardless of the position?
Correct.
Okay, so there should be a,
Yeah, there's group emails.
okay, there is a
Like teachers.
place she can find it and do a blanket email to every address.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. And then the next item of for us as a board to consider is, which we can talk about at an upcoming meeting, is the who is on the confidential interview committee that will take place for our semifinal interviews. But we've got a little bit of time before we settle on that. Okay, old business. We discussed this last meeting, but would make a motion to nominate Mary Daly to a fourth 3-year term on the Questar 3 Board of Cooperative Education Services for Rensselaer, Columbia, and Greene counties.
Second.
All in favor? There is no new business.
I do have one thing.
Oh.
Sorry. My apologies. I got all caught up in all the other things we were doing tonight, but we had 3 retirements. And unfortunately, our O&M staff has left, but I want to take a moment and acknowledge the 3 folks here. Let me find their names. Sorry. I got it. Okay. So Gus Ellsworth is saw Gus every day here, head custodian at the high school. We thank him for more than 10 years of service. And Francis Menino, food service helper with 13 plus years. And Scott Rogers, building and maintenance with 37 plus years. Wow. So very grateful for their dedication to the district. Yay. And the other thing is the board appointed Melita Dessalines as the new registered nurse at the elementary school. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about her. She is a Bachelor's of Science of Nursing, a Master in Public Health as well, and a Bachelor of Science in Public Health. She has worked at a number of medical institutions up and down the Hudson Valley, including Mid-Hudson Regional Hospital, Ulster County Department of Health, Health Alliance Hospital, and most recently, Columbia Memorial Hospital, and she's been a substitute nurse at Kingston School District for almost 2 years. And I don't think I've heard anybody more enthusiastic about inheriting sick children in their office than Melita. So she's very excited to start with us.
That's great news. Public forum.
We have Laura Bender.
Good evening, everybody. I don't want to belabor the point, so I'm not going to talk too long, but I also signed up to comment about some of the communication problems with the superintendent search. And I think we really have to get it right this time. And I think everybody, and you've clearly expressed that as well, so thank you so much for expressing that in this public forum like this, because I wanted to echo everything that Nikki said. I was feeling very uncomfortable with how everything was getting put out there as far as communication, and I don't know that the community knows that these meetings are going on. I've done what I could do to let my membership know, and I'm sure Nikki has done what she could do, but again, you've contracted to pay a firm a good amount of money, and I think that it's very important we get it right this time, so I wanted to make sure. I was just here to kind of echo that point too. And forgive me, I'm gonna stray away from the theme because I have a couple other things written down that I wanted to comment on that were mentioned throughout the meeting tonight. One of them is the time kettle devices. I have to say thank you to the district and thank you to Cheryl for seeking these things out, because even just from my point of view in the high school, we have several students who speak no English, and this is going to be a game changer for some of our students. So our teachers are really excited, and I know when our students get exposure to that, they're also going to be very excited too. It's going to be transformational when it gets put in place. The other thing that I wanted to mention that was brought up during the budget presentation with the class sizes was the dedicated 6th grade social studies position that was eliminated for this year. I'm obviously a bit biased because I'm a social studies teacher, but I can't express more enthusiastically how important it is to have dedicated social studies instruction. I know everybody is trying their best who's assigned a social studies section this year, but up until this point, social studies is still one of those foundational core subjects that students are expected to pass 2 Regents exams in when they enter high school. So laying that foundation really early is very, very important. And the last thing that I wanted to mention, I know I can't mention personnel up here, but forgive me. When I saw Gus retiring on the personnel agenda, I was like, what am I gonna do without Gus? Gus and I have stories about how he cleaned up my room from a glitter bomb when I was planning the prom in 2017. So I am going to miss him dearly, and I congratulate him on his retirement. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And just so everybody knows, we're going to make sure that at the end of the year, we have a nice big cake and everybody gets invited back, and we celebrate all of our retirees at the same time.
Hey, Mark, I have a quick question for you. Do we have anything on our electric signboard out there for these meetings?
Yes, board meetings are definitely.
No, not the board meetings. For the
search
search meetings.
That's a good point. Yep.
I mean, it could be maybe something generic, say, superintendent search, see board website for details.
Yep.
Wait.
It's a great idea.
Who decides what goes up on the board? I feel like it's way underutilized. That's just I'm just floating that question out there.
Would someone in the room raise their hand if they're in charge of this? I don't know. I'll have to find out. It's magic. I don't know.
No.
That's a
well,
great question.
Speak a little bit to it. It has been in the past, usually the superintendent with the board clerk, and they'll post it. There used to be Tracy. I think Tracy's still doing it, but eventually it'll be Leslie.
And I can speak that Tracy takes the dates off our board agenda and puts them up there.
All right.
She confirmed that today.
All right, mystery solved.
Well, maybe there could be a way that we can include more things, you know, celebrating,
Yeah.
you know, sports teams that, you know, won a competition or, you know, those kinds of things as well.
Absolutely.
As just meetings and,
Yeah, no, it's a resource we should definitely use.
I know it's not a board thing, but
Yeah.
anyway.
I know at one point, Mr. Brenneman was petitioning for one at the elementary school as well, but I think the cost
Well,
of
that was donated by one of the classes. What class was it, right? They're the ones who, one of the graduating classes. Who was it? I don't know. So it wasn't, the district didn't pay for it.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, we have a number of information items on here, all related to mainly our capital project. Nominating petitions are called out here, but they're just a number of forms that Dr. Bailey and myself had to sign, but did not require board approval, so they're just on here as information items. And now we have board discussion, which I'll start. I mentioned this earlier, and now we all have it on our desk, but this is the board meeting observation sheet. It's a tool sheet for all of us as board members to use to monitor how we're doing. So there's a number of boxes you see. You can give it a score between 1 and 5. And once we have a few meetings that have been observed and scores to compare, we'll discuss anything that we feel like needs improvement. Anybody else have anything else to share or discuss?
So are we gonna use this individually and then put it together collectively?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So once you feel like you've given it enough thought or have enough feedback in here, you can turn it over to me, and then I'll put them all together. But I'll let everybody know the deadline for submitting them. And then at the end of the year, we'll also do a more formal assessment. Okay. So we do have a need for.
I just wanted to ask one question before you, I was looking at the check sheet. Did anybody get back to the person that spoke up about the temperature and the kids sitting?
Yes.
Yeah.
My understanding is.
I leaned over too far.
Apparently, Mr. Brenneman has had multiple conversations with the parent who spoke.
I have one more question for you, Mark. I don't remember if I recall this, but are we going to see a list of every candidate that applies?
We can.
Or are we only going to see the list that she's recommending?
No, I mean, I would like to see a list of all
everybody.
them. Yeah.
And
yes.
then also take her recommendations along with the public's recommendations.
Yes. And in the past, in my experience, they usually say, this is everybody. These are the folks who are more qualified than others. These are folks that I don't think you should consider for
Okay.
reasons X, Y,
So
or
will we
Z.
do that during a regular meeting, or will we have a special meeting?
I
or
think
something?
what we'll have to do is probably
Or
have
a workshop?
a special meeting. Yep. Could even be over the weekend. That's how we've done it in the past. But yeah,
Okay.
we'll need
And
to
I'll-
get together for her. She'll present all of the candidates, and then we'll make a decision as a board who we want to bring in for our
The
initial
finals.
interviews. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Cool. We do have a need for a second executive session. I make a motion to enter executive session at 9:05 p.m. For the purposes of discussing both persons' employment and the superintendent's mid-year evaluation and HTA grievance.
Second.
All in favor? There will be no further business after this executive session. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your input.